My name is Hibah Shabkhez. I'm going to read Grasshoppers on Insecticide Day. They fled after the first murders and sought the plainest leaves they could find, those furthest from the doomed, glowing petals that had brought death, fought for obscurity and for rest. And their torn hearts breaking would have shaken the stern resolve in the gloved hands that bound their fate to those acid showers. But for the butterfly, in the sturdy bareness of their refuge, they trusted and never dreamt of the twitching fingers of the deluge that would snap them off in so short a span. And their torn hearts breaking would have taken her head with them, but for the tendrils wound about the brain's built-in flowers, but for the butterfly. Thank you. I basically write poetry to process life in the sense that my way of thinking anything elaborate is to write it out. And poetry is the best medium I've ever found for processing slices, blushes, images, things you see, things you hear, things you feel, and of making sense of them. And then these are things that you want to show other people. You see something extraordinary, vivid or unusual or startling, or you see something and then you go, what if it's like this? What if this happens? What if this goes here? And then you make a thing and then you're like, okay, look, you want to show it to everyone else. And poetry does that in a way that prose does not. But basically, it comes to the poem demanding to be written in the end. The poem saying, I'm here, you're going to write me, and this is how. That's basically it. Yes, I do write prose. I do write fiction. I also write like flash non-fiction. I'm a PhD student, so I also write research. But that's like in this sense, writing everything has its own place. But poetry is increasingly what I do most of the time. Thematically, I'm guessing they're fairly obvious, but each of them literally is the core of each of these poems is an image. So, and the city smiles. There's in the neighborhood. There's a house nearby where there's literally a thorn hedge, and there's this one yellow rose that kind of shoots high over it. I guess that changes according to the season, but that was the one time I saw it, and it really stuck in my head. And Grasshoppers on Insecticide Day, that started with memories of my grandmother gardening. The hunt that never ended was, well, it was like those story dreams you have where you're dreaming and there's a story and then you remember flashes of it. So one of those, there was a mother who was hiding with her son in a hayrick and the army of the usurper was chasing her, that sort of thing. And obviously, when you write the poem, it doesn't stay there, it grows, it requires other themes, other meanings. But that's where it starts. It starts with an image and then it's like the image is like a poem seed and then it grows into its tree. Well, I start by, for example, if I see something, I photograph it. If it's a memory, I write it out or I draw it, something like that. And then I come back to it. Whatever words, sometimes the whole poem just shoots out, but that's rare. So I scribble it down like longhand on paper most of the time. Sometimes phone notes, sometimes on the computer, wherever I am basically. I just scribble it down and sort of collect that, and then sooner or later, it starts flowing into a poem or a story or just a thing. I don't force it, but it's like if you write or if you wait around to write, like you've got a pen, you've got a paper, you're waiting for it, then when it comes, you're ready to catch it. Well, one thing I would say is read as widely as possible. Okay, like if you are multilingual, then read in all the languages you have. If you're not, read translations, reach as many people as you can. But to understand, because that really just broadens your understanding of what poetry is and what it can do, and that obviously helps you understand any poem you're reading, or writing for that matter. But when it comes to one particular poem that you want to understand, I just say start by just hanging out with it, read it once, Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. Read it again a couple of days later, a week later. Give it time. Let it become part of your life, part of who you are, in a sense. Again, you don't do this with every poem, but you do it with the ones that matter most. And it's the poem that decides how much it wants to matter to you. You can't decide it. But basically, if you want to understand a poem, you want to go read it again and again, read it in different places at different times. Maybe talk about it to people who also read poetry, or talk about it to different people around you, like not just one kind of person. Because I don't know, it depends on whether how diverse your world is, but in mine, there are a lot of people who have different beliefs, different origins, different completely, sometimes radically opposed ideas. And talking about the same text with different people, it gives you a very different perspective into that text. Okay, to sum it up, read it often, read it in different places, read it with different people, and read it over time. Then you understand it best. Whatever it is that you're reading, but especially poetry. Again, it starts with reading, obviously, because the thing is, writing, it comes from inside, right? There's something you want to say, or something you want to learn, or something you want to see, something you want to do. Poetry presents itself as a medium to you if you are accustomed to living in poems in a sense. Reading is where it starts. Okay, but then when it comes to the actual writing process, I say keep an open eye and an open mind for poem seeds. They kind of the things that come to you, a word, a line, an image, something in a book you're reading, something. Also search actively for things that stir the imagination. Anything at all. And make sure whenever it happens, you write it down. That's important for the writing part. Write it down exactly as it is. If it makes any sense, if it's in 3 languages, write it down in 3 languages. If it makes no sense, never mind. Jot it down and then come back to it. Like, I don't know if it's possible for everyone to write every day, because for me, sometimes I'm writing 6 times a day, and sometimes I don't touch writing for a couple of days. It varies. It depends on how much time you have, what else you're doing, and where you are mentally. But whenever possible, wherever possible, keep things near you: pen, paper, phone notes, notepad, whatever. Make sure you have something nearby, and make sure you come back to the writing whenever you feel like it, or whenever you want to. Or even if you don't feel like it, sometimes you just open up what you already have, and you go through it, and you start writing. And then one more thing I say is make up some kind of constraint. It doesn't have to be form. I like form. I like rhyme. I like that sort of thing, but I don't always use it. But it depends. Sometimes I just make up this mental constraint. I have to use the word lemon in this somehow. And in the end, the poem may not contain the word lemon, but the idea is, if you have a formal constraint, use these 5 words in a story, make this word 500 words long, whatever. Make this poem, make this a 14-line poem, make this a sonnet, make this a hondo, whatever it is. If you have some kind of constraint to work against, that can sometimes help you to figure out what the poem wants you to do. Okay, so I'm from Pakistan, right? I grew up surrounded by poems in at least 3 languages: English, Urdu, Punjabi, every. So I can't really pick one poet who is amazing because there's so many of them. So I'm just going to go with the first poem that made me wish to write poems. I spent my entire childhood basically reading books. Okay, I was completely crazy about A Tale of Two Cities then. I think I was about 11 or 12. Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. And I ran to this poem called Banner Run of the Dandenong by Alice Werner. She's Australian, I think. I don't know very much about her. That's weird. I've looked it up a couple of times, but that was the poem. At that point, it felt like a different version of the same story, a shorter one, a musical one, and that really fascinated me. Yeah, obviously, I grew up reading Tennyson and everything, all the romantics and everything like that. But this was the poem that made me feel like I wanted to write poems. Bannerman of the Dandenong. I don't know how it's pronounced, honestly.